Hey guys, and welcome to the second tutorial on my tutorial series for the Digitakt 2. I hope you liked the first video, and I'm really thankful for the nice comments and the feedback. And as you can see, I have a little surprise for you so you can see better what's going on the display. And for visualization, I have my Oxi Instruments 1 sequencer here, so you can see what's going on in the patterns, because on the Electron sequencer you don't see the notes, you don't see the triggers. You have to go inside each track to see what's going on, and like for tutorial it's better to see everything. So I have my drums on the first sequencer, the bass line on the third, and on 3/4 here are some, as I call, melodic elements. But yeah, let's dive into it. As the first video, this one is uncut too. It's just like me improvising as I improvise making music. I want to do these tutorials as real as possible, because I think not everything has to be perfect. And this is my opinion. I just really like the little mistakes that happen when making music, when talking, and none of us humans is perfect. So this is kind of my mindset. Yeah, let's dive into it. And first, I have a kick drum going on track 1. It's just a basic 909 kick drum, filtered out a little bit. I use the filter envelope to get back the clickiness of the 909 kick. If you turn this up, you can hear that you get this really top end of the kick back again. But in this case, I don't want it. I want to keep it a little bit darker. And with this new filter on the Digitakt 2, this is the morphing filter from low pass to high pass. But you can use it as a low shelf EQ, as I do. If you turn it up more to the band pass side, you see that the low end is getting turned down. The problem is that, yes, as you can hear, you get too much low end if you just take the raw sample. So let's load this back. Now it's like more balanced, and this is like the first step in the mixing part of this video, is how I make my sounds sound good in the club environment. Because over the last 3 to 4 years, my partner Mo Ferris and we played like 10, 15, 20 gigs. I didn't count them, to be honest, you know. And you learn from each gig. And on the first gigs I had too much bass going on, but I learned that you have to have a controlled, good punchy bass going on, and then it sounds on every system. Each time it sounds really good. Yeah, let's go to the bass rumble, bass line, as you can call it. Many people, they make a science out of it, how to make good kick rumbles, how to make a good kick rumble bass line. It's, I don't know, it's quite easy, but maybe because I'm doing music for the last 15 years. But yeah, it's just sine wave. Just get a sine wave, get a 909 low tom, get yourself an A-step sequence, put in some notes, play with the velocity, and sidechain it to the kick, and there you go. Just filter out the top end, and you have a nice, interesting bass line going on. Yeah, as you can see here, I filtered out the sub frequencies because I don't want them too much. Sub bass kills your track. And I do mix down and mastering for some people, and the stuff I get sent over from beginners and people that haven't played in clubs has often too much bass, so I have to turn down the bass, and I just write them that they should mix it again. If it's like a pre-master track, say just go in there and turn down the bass by 6 decibels, or often by 12, because it's way too much. Yeah, so without further ado, let's go to the first page on the filter section. I have like filtered out most of the top end, have a little bit envelope going on, and with the morphing filter I turned down the very low end too. And yeah, to make it more interesting, you just can introduce some portamento to give the bass line a more interesting groove. Oh, this is way too much. So I think around here it's the best setting. Give it a little bit more attack to take care of the clickiness. Yeah. The next element would be the low tom. So let's stop me this sequence first because yeah, I didn't time it right. So let's go. Yeah, this is the basic sequence, and you have to keep your levels on the Digitakt. It's really hard to drive this machine because to overdrive this machine or to distort this machine because it has a lot of headroom. But a little trick, if you go into the sampling page and you set up the source to the main out, you can see that, yes, I'm like in the last 10% of the headroom of this machine. What you don't want is to have it in the first half, because then you have to boost the signal of the Digitakt on the mixer. It introduces really much noise, and it's like the first part of the gain staging. So if you want good loud track with a little bit of noise, I add noise on purpose later, but if you don't want to have it noisy, just watch your levels. It's like basic mixing in the analog domain. This is digital, but you have to keep your levels right so you don't introduce too much noise. Yeah, let's go to the hi-hat now. On the fifth track, I just have a basic offbeat hi-hat going on. Yeah, basic techno beat, 138 BPM. This time something a little bit slower, and yeah, you could already dance to it. The next part, what I like to do is to layer a percussion loop. In this case, I won't search one, I found one that fits really well. I just use the stretch machine. This is a 2-bar sample that is played over and over each bar. I filtered out the very low end, and I have some sample rate reduction going on to give it a little bit rid, a little bit chorus, reverb, delay, bit reduction and overdrive. And on the LFO page I have a really slow LFO on the filter frequency and a modulation, a little bit of faster modulation on the panning, but I will turn down this quickly. So a little trick, if you want to do like this linear steps from 24, 30T, just hold down the function button, then you can work way faster. So make this like this. On the third LFO there's nothing. So as you can hear, it already works. Like this track has texture. I'm not like a guy who says samples are bad. If used right, sample can enhance your workflow and give the track the texture that often is missing when you synthesize all this stuff by yourself. I know there's like many people who say, samples are bad, but if this is a sampler, why shouldn't I use some loops on it, yeah? Yeah. And on track 11, I have a little effects hit, I would call it, and I use this as my background atmosphere. So it's a pity that you can't zoom in on this actually, but I use it with the loop function to give it more movement, so it plays like every 8 bars it resets, but then it loops and then it holds the note or the loop. I'll use a lot of reverb, delay and chorus on this. So again, some filter, some panning modulation. And back to noise. I like to use noise, vinyl noise or stuff like this to give the track even more depth and texture. So let's see when this will restart. So now we hear the noise. If I turn this up, it's just some filtered noise. In this case, I use an LFO on the bass with filter as kind of a band pass. A lot of reverb, chorus and sample rate reduction. And this is just a sample from the factory pack. I have planned that when I'm done with the series, I will release a template for the Digitakt 2 with all the samples I use and all the patterns, so you can download it on Bandcamp and Gumroad just to support me if you want. So yeah, this is the basic beat, and yes, let's work on it. So let's go to the first, as I call, melodic element. I have no scale set up, it's just a few notes. So let's unmute this. As you can hear, it's just like an FM bass lead style. What I use here is the same sine wave I use on the bass. Then I just go into the LFO. I set the LFO destination to the tune, and then I use a really fast LFO to modulate it. Let me save that pattern so you can hear what this knob is doing actually. If you want more gnarly, you can go to 512. So let's reload this. I use some key tracking on the filter, so the higher the note, the more the filter opens up. I just use the basic low pass filter here, cut out the low end, some filter bit reduction to give it more of an old school, like a gritty feel, because I don't like this clean techno. Then I have a ramp LFO that is set really slow on the filter, and on the third I don't have anything, but you could work on the panning and stuff if you want more movement, but I think this is the right amount of movement for this element in the track. And what I use is like the next trick. I have the mod wheel right here on the Oxi Instruments One, and you can use any other MIDI controller that can send mod wheel data via knob, like I have Fader Fox One, to make macros. You just have to go into the setup, and there you can build your macros with velocity, pitch bend, modulation wheel. I just have the modulation wheel set up so that the filter envelope as destination, and so if I turn up the mod wheel on this particular channel, it gives it more filter envelope amount. So you can just when you perform, you can use this kind of macro sets. You can add some reverb. And the good part about this is that these are no absolute values. These are relative values to the values you set on the tracks. So if you turn this up, it takes the value on the track itself, like here. Let's go back. Like as you see this value, you can see 12, this is the base value, and everything on the mod happens relative to that. So you can build your macros in this one. A really good trick. I've learned this when I had the Digitakt, but I sold the Digitakt then, and it's really nice that you can use this trick on the Digitakt or the Digitone 2 as well. So let's go to the other drums. No, I don't want to mute this. Yeah. To loosen things up, I have a snare running here. It plays only each fourth bar, I think, yes, each fourth bar. And like this hit on the synthesizer, it plays only each fourth bar, just to give it some variation. So and there's a other neat trick, but I will show this in another video on the Oxi One, how you can use the internal LFO to modulate the mod wheel. So yeah, the next element are these closed hi-hats. These are just some basic shaker samples that I used, and as you can hear, they just go from left to right or randomly from left to right. And if you set your LFO on the panning, on the amp panning to 16, and here it's 32, get a random wave and let the LFO re-trigger on each hit, turn it up, then your hi-hat will, with each hit, will be on a different like part of the stereo field. So it gives it more of a, like this natural or organic vibe. What gives it an organic vibe too is I use this on the amp attack too. So each hit has like a different intensity. Let's hear this like in isolation. And let's go back into it. To loosen things up, on the track 6, I have a 909 open head running that plays a 5-step pattern. So, how do you call this? Polymetric. And it gives the track a completely different feel. Just a 909. Fill that out with some effects. And I don't use any LFOs on this one, because too much movement is bad too. So let me mute this one and let's go over to the right cymbal. One good trick that I learned is if you play the right cymbal, don't play the 16 hi-hats, because you will get too much high end. just like a 909 ride cymbal with some attack to give it like this pumping effect, like on the same steps as the offbeat hi-hat, with some delay, bit reduction to give it more dirt, and fill that out. Because these ride cymbals on the 909, they have like so much mid-range. Sometimes it's good, but in this particular track I just filter everything out and I don't need no modulation. But what you can do is, if you want a bigger stereo image, you can just make a faster LFO so that the rides play like from left to right, but faster. This was too much. Let's keep like this. Let's turn down this one. A really good trick if you want to level your mix is, let me show this. I have this ride cymbal going on and then you hear it's way too loud. Just turn it down completely. This is what I'm doing when I mix in Ableton Live too. And then just turn it up until it fits. On track 4 I have a clap going on, and on track 16 it's the same clap, but with some trigger conditions. So only if I press the fill button so you can just make some manual fills, and if you time it right, it sounds really good. Yeah, let's go to the next melodic element. Just turn this one down a little bit. This turn. Let's mute all this stuff. And this is what I meant by call and response in the beginning of the video. Like this is like the call. Boom, 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 boom. And this is what works really good in techno and in other genres too. And the percussion on this track works as kind of the answer to this, or the response to this call. On the 14 I use a Wavetable. It's from the factory pack too, and you just set up your track as a grid machine, then put it on 64 slices, slice grid on 64, and the length of each slice to 1, and then with the slices you just can scan through the wavetable. And I have an LFO going on that gives it more movement so that you scan through the wavetable, as you can see. Then you can set the bassline from where the LFO starts. let's get back with the bass. So let's go back into this one and see if something's clipping. Nothing is clipping. And last but not least, the best trick to make your patterns sound good on the Digitakt. Just go into the master, turn everything up to the maximum, and turn up your overdrive to 120. So this call and response stuff, I do this with many patterns, with many elements. So this clap is a part of the call and response of track 10 and of this, so that it just sounds like it's moving all the time. Let's get all the elements. Mute some of these. So, as a conclusion, let's mute this one too. Yeah, you have to set the levels of your sounds right. So when I look on the kick drum and the open head and the bass, it's like the bassline for everything. If you have the leveling on the kick, on the bass and on the hi-hat right, then all the other elements, they should be mixed in so that these three elements don't get in the background or are louder. If you have a good metering in your DAW, you just can look at the peak of the bass frequencies and the peak of the high frequency and the hi-hats should be like from, if you have like minus 40 decibels on the peak of the low end, then you should have like 43 to 45 decibels on the high end. So like you have this pink noise response curve. Yeah, as I said, I'm doing music for I have been doing music for the last 15 years, and it's like the experience you get. And as I made this track, you could easily record it in one take, do some basic mastering and put it out on Bandcamp or sell it or send it as a demo. So thanks that you watched all this tutorial, and yeah, see you next time with something a little bit different. So if you like my content, just like this video, comment on it, ask your questions, and hope to see you again very soon. And yeah, if you have any feedback how I could improve my productions, just write in the comments. Bye.